Carried. So we'll come back to those two. Is there anything... Look, can we do the Mount Pleasant Sea Scouts building? Because I know that Sarah would like to move this. And Sarah's still online. And since she's going to leave us at 2:45, I think we'll just go straight to that. So, we've got a staff member here. Would you...
Yeah, Luke's here.
Sorry? You have a question?
I've got a question.
Yeah, I've got a question too.
So, one of the concerns potentially relating to this transaction, and it may or may not be a concern, everything as it is at the moment, this looks like a good idea. We've got a community group that's willing to take ownership of the building. They're going to refurbish it, saves us some money, keeps the building in community use. Everybody, including ourselves, is happy. That's great. What guarantee have we got that that building will continue to be used for community use, for the purpose for which we're selling it, continue to be owned by the group that we're transferring it to? How can we avoid a situation that looked like, for example, we transferred the building to the community group, they refurbished it, added value to it, used it for a number of years and then sold it on the open market, and it wasn't then further used for community use? Have we got something in the lease or in the sale and purchase agreement or both that gives us those guarantees?
I think you've just answered your own question, essentially. So the first thing is, I suppose, the group's been there for 50 years, so there's no intention for them to actually move on. There is a requirement for the lease to be in the name of New Zealand Scouts, because the Sea Scouts themselves are not actually a formal entity as such. But to answer your question, so the lease would have a permitted use, which would be quite tight. That would relate to local purpose scout groups, I suppose you'd say. So if, let's say, I guess at the end of the day, if the group were to look to sell the building, the lease in place would be really constrictive and they would have no interest. So the second thing we can do is also, in the deed of gift, is have a first right of refusal for the council to receive the building back if that was no longer the use.
Yep, so the lease has got a particular purpose in it.
Yes, that's right.
And a particular lessee.
Correct.
And is not capable of being assigned to a different lessee?
No.
Okay, I'm very comfortable with that in that case, thank you.
Yeah, I do want to put that in the resolution though, around to include a first right of refusal back to the council.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Can I just add a couple of things? So the first is that we did go out for public consultation on this process and we didn't receive any feedback, so that essentially gives us the clearance to move forward.
Yep.
And the second thing is there's a minor alteration to one of the resolution wordings. Which I think
Yeah, with no further, I think that's been added in, no further financial contribution from the council being provided.
correct.
Tim?
Italics. That's right.
Thank you, and it's something that I brought up this morning in the informal. In North Canterbury, the Scouting Association, the community built and donated the land for a Scouts building.
Yes.
That the National Scouting Association, and if I've got the story right, owns and is now selling out from under that Scout group. So now we're saying in this that it has to go to the Scout the Scout Association of New Zealand. Is that the same body that is involved with North Canterbury? And if so, because the lease of the land is totally different to the gift or the selling of the building for $1.
Well, it is, and I'm not familiar with that situation, but the lease is different. All the leases to Scouts are with Scouts New Zealand, so that's the format that we have to run with. The reason we're gifting the building to Scouts New Zealand and not the Sea Scouts is because the Sea Scouts are not a formal entity. Plus, New Zealand Scouts require a greater level of tenure in order to be able to provide the financial assistance to the local group to refurbish the building.
So with your adding a clause saying that we get first right of refusal,
Yep.
would that be at the cost of the value of the building, or is that at the dollar that we're selling it to?
No, at $1.
At $1. So,
That's
so
right.
that will be.
Yep.
So if that is in there on condition of, then
Yep.
I'll support it. Otherwise, I won't.
I think it's important to remember that even if they did try to sell the building, there is the lease on the land, which is incredibly restrictive. So,
You can remove the building from the land, so, you know, it happens every day. So my concern is I'm just wanting to ensure, you've done great work, but after seeing that in North Canterbury, I've got concerns. So therefore I want to guarantee that it is going to be for the use that that we intend it for. So if there's a clause in there saying that we get first right for the purchase price of $1 to then continue into community hands, then that's fine.
yep.
But-
And I've discussed this with Scouts New Zealand, and they're on the same page as us. in that
Yeah, I'm
regard.
sure they did in North Canterbury too. So, but
Yeah,
I
so-
just want us to be ahead of the ball.
It's
Yeah,
not
sure.
for the purposes, it's for, so with the inclusion in the deed of sale, a clause indicating that the council have the first right of refusal, if the building is no longer required. I just think it's no longer required, full stop. Because, they can't use it for a purpose other than the one that
They can't because the lease is constructed.
no longer required,
For the purpose of the lease.
or for the purposes spelt out in the lease,
Yeah.
or include for the purposes included in the lease.
Yeah, you can go that far
Yep.
and make it that specific.
Yeah,
Purposes, the permitted use.
and
of
maybe the
lease.
right of refusal for the return of the building. Because I mean, do we have to write in $1 or do we just
No, we're doing it via a deed of gift, so
right?
it's not necessary.
Okay. So we can turn it down,
Yes,
which means that they would have to demolish it.
yes, that's
Yep,
right. Because
okay.
the lease would terminate.
All right. So, all right. So it's been Aaron.
Going to say that if sea level rise does come to fruition, it's lucky they're Sea Scouts.
Excellent. That was a very helpful contribution. It's been moved by Sarah Templeton, seconded by Jana Johansson. Is there any discussion?
We're just sell.
I just think this is a good way forward on an asset that we can't afford, a group that will look after it, and I think as long as we sort the stuff out in the lease, this is a really good win-win for us.
Very good. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried.